Welcome to our exciting new stage. This is Taki speaking, and since we are having a few of special guests here in the office for the next weekend's tournament, we have invited one of those guests here with us. It's
Good evening, everyone.
Killer Bin. And there is a very good reason why we invited Killer Bin for this little shenanigans, because we are going to speak about a new ship that is coming into game. And I mean, what the ship is, what the ship's name is, was kind of already revealed yesterday. But we will still have a lot of things to talk about. Because while you know the name of the ship, you don't know how are we implementing the ship, right?
Yes, so
So before we get to the name of the ship, because I see the chat is already going crazy, and not everyone seems to know. So before we get to the specific ship, let's talk a bit of theory about the general category to which the ship belongs. The category is very, very wide and very confusing and very crazy, and it is?
officially, according to the Dutch, they called them destroyer leaders.
Yes. And that's a very fascinating category. It's kind of the natural outgrowth of the entire destroyer concept, because first there were torpedo boats. Torpedo boats are all fine and well. So someone came up with the idea that they need to defend against them. So they came up with a bigger torpedo boat with heavier guns and called it
A torpedo boat destroyer.
exactly. Which then kind of got shortened just to a destroyer. And throughout the World War I, everyone kind of chugged happily along with the torpedo boats and torpedo boats destroyers. And a thing called flotilla leaders.
Yes.
What was a flotilla leader?
Well, in the Royal Navy sense, a flotilla leader was when a class of destroyer was ordered, there would be an extra ship that would be a little bit bigger. Sometimes it would have an extra gun, sometimes it wouldn't. But the point of it was that it was a bit bigger so you could fit a flotilla leader, commanding officer, and his staff so they could coordinate the actions of the force.
Yes. So that's basically that was one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum were light cruisers, which were again offshoot of previous cruiser classes. And as the name suggests, they were light. They were smaller than regular cruisers. They were less armored than regular cruisers. They had smaller guns than regular cruisers, and they were faster in theory. In practice, not often, not like didn't often work, but especially at a bad sea state. But basically, this was their pick. And then the World War I happened, and there was a lot of interesting findings coming from that. Such as, for example, the flotilla leaders were not really heavy enough to provide any more support to the destroyers, and the light cruisers were still too heavy. So, what was the solution?
Well, depending who you ask, you either made your destroyer bigger or your cruiser smaller.
Yes. And there were even classes where, throughout their lifetime, they kind of oscillated. Like, I don't know, for example, the Le Terribles, the French large destroyers, they started off as a large destroyers slash flotilla leaders. Then during the war, some of them were scuttled by their crews when the Toulon got captured. Some of them joined the Free French Naval Forces. And since there were some background political shenanigans going on, they had to be rebranded from large destroyers to light cruisers. So they formed the light cruiser division, which,
It was for dockyard priority, wasn't it?
Yes, it was dockyard priority in the US. That basically the destroyers would be very somewhere at the end of the queue, and light cruisers were
Yes.
given priority because they sound bigger. So kind of the same reason why now the destroyers are called frigates and frigates are called
Yeah, everything just sort of gets better.
So, so in any case, this kind of demonstrates the problem. The same it was in Italy, which had a class they called Oceanic Scouts
Yes.
already since World War One, which was basically again something too small to be a cruiser, too big to be a destroyer, too slow to be a destroyer, too fast to be a cruiser, and so on and so forth. For example, since I will just plug this in, our colleagues are going next week to Romania to the Navy Day in Constanta, and yes, and the Romanian Navy had two Italian scout cruisers built in 1917 that got in between wars basically rebuilt to be large destroyers, kind of similar to the Italian destroyers we have in game. So this was a very fluid category, and as many of you already found correctly, yes, we are definitely talking about the home class of destroyer leaders.
Mm.
They were called destroyer leaders, they were called cruisers, they were called large destroyers, depending on who you ask, when do you ask them, because they also had kind of a turbulent career. So they were built in 1930s, late 1930s, because the Netherlands basically missed for their colonies in the Dutch East Indies. They missed a ship that would be basically filling this slot, that would be able to support destroyers and do a scouting and everything. So they were kind of basically all things crammed into a relatively small and a light package. They had some 3,400 tons standard displacement. They were 130 meters long, and they were making around 33 knots. So again, slightly slower destroyer, slightly faster cruiser by the Dutch standards. But in any case, because they were modern, they were new, and they were pretty nicely armed. At the time they were introduced, they were actually the strongest. They were considered to be the strongest units of the Netherlands Navy. Again, mostly because they were modern, because, for example, the De Ruyter class was heavier armed, but had its own share of problems. So how did they do actually in the war?
Well, so Tromp herself actually managed to be completed and armed as the Dutch intended, and served in various roles in the Far East, escorting convoys and other such patrols and such. She did serve with the British Eastern Fleet, and also helped do some shore bombardment during the war. Her sister had a much more exciting start to life, though, having to run from the Germans while completely disarmed, which was the fate of quite a few Dutch ships. And so she ended up being armed along British lines, while Tromp, thanks to being completed that just a bit early, escorting many convoys. She was even hit by another ship in the game during one of the battles of the Bandung Strait, where she took hits from Asashio's main guns,
Yes.
showing that Asashio's can in fact use their main guns.
Yes. On the other hand, she hit Asashio in turn and Oshio as well. And she was, with some combat damage, she was sent for repairs in Australia, in Fremantle and Sydney, which was kind of lucky for her, because otherwise she would be caught in the entire Java Sea
Yes.
kerfuffle and probably wouldn't make it out, because basically all larger ships that Allies had in that battle and then the Sunda Strait and were sunk. So
Weren't they the largest Dutch ships to survive?
to survive after the Java Sea,
Yes.
That would be that mine layer.
Ah, yes.
Damn it! What is the name? We have a Seraph is here. Maybe he knows the Dutch mine layer that camouflaged as a island. Christensen?
Oh, no, Chad
Yeah.
got it.
Crinson.
Yeah. Yes.
USS Tirpitz? No, it wasn't USS Tirpitz. If anything, there would be USS Prince Eugen, but
Don't give them hope.
sorry,
Don't give them hope.
I like to troll everyone because I mean Abraham Kreischen.
Kreischen.
Okay,
Fair enough.
thank you, Seraphis, for your
Yes.
assistance.
But yeah, so as the war went on, obviously the Allies start winning. She does more convoy escort, shore bombardment for Allied forces in the South Pacific. And,
Japanese forces.
yes. Shore bombardment in support of Allied forces.
Yes.
And then she survives the war. They are used to re-establish Dutch control in the colonies and go on to serve quite a long time after.
Yes, even though mostly after 1949, mostly just as a training ship or an accommodation ship. She was decommissioned in the 55 and unfortunately scrapped in 1969. I mean, it would be. Oh yeah, it was. Sorry, it was Minesweeper, not Mine Layer. The Kreischen. Kreischen. So this is the ship we will be talking about, and throughout our talk, we will be posing some interesting questions to you. Because we have a blood minister keeping an eye on chat here, and well, apart from running several like interesting bots in there, he will also be keeping an eye out for correct answers. And whenever we ask a question, the first person to answer correctly will get a what?
Did we decide? Is it going to be the thing that we decided?
Well, they will get a super container. I hope that's the
Yes, no.
yeah. I wasn't sure if you didn't want to promise, for example, I don't know, silver camouflage or something. But yeah, so there will be super containers. If we notice some interesting comment or question in the chat, again, we will also might bestow on you a super container. And other than that, just keep an eye on the chat, and there might be some other shenanigans happening. Have they said what tier this will be? No, we haven't. So, is there any? Are there any questions already now for the Trump? Trump gun caliber? Yes, we can share this already. So the Trump was armed as befits to her role, because basically, again, destroyer leaders had two schools of thought. One school of thought was take destroyer guns, but put a lot of them. Example of this school is, for example, the Cossack, or in general the tribals, with their 8 4.7-inch guns compared to the regular 4. So that's one way how to go.
And the Atlantas, which were
Yes.
destroyer leaders.
Yes, the Atlantas were kind of weird case, because they were supposed to have 6-inch guns, but the dual purpose 6-inch guns development got stuck. So in the end, they just took a bunch of the standard destroyer 5-inch gun turrets and just plop, plop, plop all over the ship. And the other school of thought was, okay, we want the destroyer leader to be able to outrange the destroyers. So that went for heavy guns, for bigger guns than the destroyers would have. Example of that would be, for example, the German large destroyers, the Z classes with the 15-centimeter guns.
The Narviks and such.
Yes, exactly. Or, for example, the Japanese light cruisers, which had 140 or 150 millimeter guns.
The Italian Capitanis.
Yes, with
And
what did they have? 135 and
135s
the French 138s. So basically, those were the two schools of thought. And the Dutch, when selecting the armament, went for the second school of thought. So the Tromp-class destroyer leaders had 6 15-centimeter guns in 3 mounts of 2 guns each. 2 up front, super firing, 1 in the aft. In the game, those guns will obviously be kept. They will have a range of 13.3 kilometers, which is, I mean, obviously shorter than in real life, but that's the case with all gun ranges in the game. And they will be firing HE and AP. Killer Brain could brief us on the detailed stats.
Yes, so for the HE shells, the maximum damage will be 2,150. They'll pen 25 millimeters with an 11% fire chance and an initial velocity of 900 meters a second. So pretty quick out the barrels. AP will do a maximum of 3,000 damage and still also have the 900 meters a second velocity. She has an 8-second reload, an 18-second turret turn time, and maximum dispersion of 114 meters with a 2.0 sigma.
Not bad. How is it actually in comparison to the German 15-centimeter destroyers?
Unless she's, we'd have to see the ballistics, but I think
Yeah.
Elbing's might be better in terms of their penetration at distance.
Yeah, but I'm not sure whether how the range is standing there. But in any case, this will be all on a ship that will have a 24,500 hit points and 19 millimeters of plating. So now here we have the first question. And that is, as for in-game implementation, will it be a destroyer or a cruiser? Wow!
Jesus.
Okay. No, it won't be carrier. No.
She did carry a float plane.
Yes, but yeah. So I see that the chat is overwhelmingly.
That was instant.
Yes, that was an instant. No, she's not a submarine. Come on, guys. But yeah, it's she's a destroyer, and I definitely don't envy Blood Minister finding the first one to post the correct answer.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
You lot are keen.
More HP than Zhao. Super duper destroyer. Hybrid space destroyer. Yes, we are talking about the 1937 version. There was another Trump. There is another Trump, which was laid down in 1999 and commissioned in 2003. But unfortunately, we are not putting her in game. It would be kind of problematic.
Just a little bit.
Yes. Ship launched missiles when? No comment. Japanese light cruiser. It's not Japanese. She's Dutch.
But she was. Yes, she was designed with fighting the Kumas in mind.
Yes, that's true. Will she work in the current snipe meta? We shall see. We definitely want her to work. So yeah.
So
okay, this is a nice suggestion for a nickname. So I would ask Blood Minister to take note of Kenneth Azura. Just for the giveaway because I personally like H&M LMS Big Skavica. Give Swedish cruiser track runner. Maybe. Look, guys, we would like to have possibly all possible ships in the game, but obviously it takes time. So, like, yes, Red Peacock, that's the ship. Secondary build destroyers. When I have to admit, I tried heavily to lobby when we were adding Haida to the game. I was lobbying to turn her into a meme ship with actually like long range secondary guns and the creeping smoke to basically give you option to just pew pew with a small gun. But I got overruled based on the I think reasonable claims that that would be crazy. But yeah. Question: why do you call the line Europe when it only contains Swedish destroyers?
Because it doesn't.
It contains also Polish
Romanian.
destroyers. It contains Polish training ship and Austro-Hungarian destroyer and Austro-Hungarian battleship. The reason why the destroyer line is composed mostly of Swedish ships is primarily because whenever we are building the line, we are trying to basically make them make sense and be kinda sorta consistent. So like have their natural progression, have a similar play style throughout the line and so on. Because whenever there is a significantly different play style in the line, then it tends to cause some issues. So that's why the line is from tier 3 to tier 10 Swedish origin, because basically those are the ships built by the same philosophy and with the same thing in mind. And yeah, that's. But okay, let's get back to the Trump. So apart from the guns, what other anti-ship armament did she have?
Well, she carries a pair of triple torpedo launchers, sort of standard caliber, 21 inches, 533 millimeters. They have a maximum damage of 13,700, a 10-kilometer range, and a top speed of 64 knots, with a reload time of 70 seconds, a launcher traverse time of 7.2 seconds, and a detectability of 1.3 kilometers.
Yes, the torpedoes are fairly slow, or like basically mid of the line speed, average range. But they have a pretty fast reload. Obviously, that's balanced by the fact that there are only triple launchers. So, yeah, it's she's probably not going to be that much of a torpedo boat, but they will come in handy. So, yeah, when we get the dev blog post, you will get the dev blog post today evening after this fun activity, because well, yeah. Yeah, I will ask Killer Bin to go over the AA defenses as well, because I have to check something.
Right, so she will carry 4 75mm guns, two single 40mm, two twin 20mm, two single 20mm, and two twin 40mm. Her short range continuous DPS is 46, hit probability of 95%, and an action zone of 2 kilometers. So the range. In the mid range, has a damage per second of 249 with a 100% hit probability and a range of 3.5 kilometers.
Yeah.
So, for a pre-war design,
Yep.
She's pretty heavily armed.
Yes, but I mean, it's kind of. I would rate it 3.6. Not great, not terrible. Because just before the war, initially she was built just with some 12.7mm anti-aircraft machine guns, but already before the war started, the Dutch Navy realized that that might not be enough, so they did some purchases in a hurry, and especially the 3-inch guns and the 20mm, which kind of sort of helped her later during the war. So just to sum it up, 6 150mm guns, 6 torpedo tubes, some A guns. So obviously the emphasis would be on the gunplay, but not necessarily on torpedoes. So let's talk about gimmicks. And the question for the chat is, what will be the ship's special gimmick? Ooh.
Oh, I think I saw,
Yes, yeah, I saw the correct
I saw
answer.
the correct answer, but I'm not sure who said it first because the chat moved so quickly.
Silverlick? Oh, yes.
Yep.
Silverlick. And that's the correct answer. The special gimmick will be airstrike. It will be slightly different than the cruiser airstrike, than the Dutch cruiser airstrike. It will have a reload time of 40 seconds and 2 available flights with 12 attacking planes. The planes will have 2200 HP and they will have 6 bombs each. The bombs will be similar to the Dutch bombers, but the range will be shorter. It will be only 8 kilometers. So it will be, it will make for a riskier across the island sniping. Airstrike on DD, yes, but will she have depth charges? Actually, that's a good question. We will have to check, but she
Yes,
had
we're
them,
not
so
she did carry them.
yeah. So generally, ships that had them tend to have them, but we will check actually with our St. colleagues because yeah.
And did we do the bomb damage?
No, the bomb damage would be
The bombs could do a maximum of 6,800 damage. They will penetrate 37 millimeters of armor, and the fire chance on them is 39%.
yes.
Brand bombs in the payload is 6.
Yes.
The
Hello.
reload time for people asking is 40 seconds.
Yes, we mentioned the real time at the beginning, but maybe it would have been good to put it on the end. So submarines that fly when no. The radius of the reticle, how big it is, that's one thing that that we cannot really tell you right now. But we will share more information when the ship enters the testing. Can you swap the bombers for torpedo bombers? No. No, they will be just normal airstrike Dutch, like parachute bombs everywhere. Kaboom! Uh, yes. This will be good ship indeed. Depends on the player. From Captain Mark 1. Yes, we hope she will be a good ship. Obviously, we don't try to intentionally design bad ships, but we will see. How many planes will there be in a strike? There will be 12 planes with 6 bombs each. Instead of giving ships dumb gimmicks, why not just give them competitive stats compared to other ships of the tier? Well, then we get the other half of feedback that the ships are not interesting because they are the same as the other ships. So it's always trying to find a balance between having the ships similar in playstyle and having the ships somehow outstanding with some special ability. With battlecruisers being put into both cruisers and battleship classes, it can make a matchmaker a little imbalanced. How now with the DDs becoming so varied in terms of armament and playstyles, do you not think it's time to consider adding the battlecruiser class and splitting the DDs into 2 to 3 separate classes, we don't really see the reason for this for now, because I mean, yes, the DDs have different play styles. For example, you have the Japanese torpedo boats, you have the German big gun boats, and so on. But overall, they tend to basically do the same job by different means, because they are still, whatever their specific playstyle is, they are supposed to basically skirmish, to contest the caps, try to, if possible, except the 2 exceptions with no torpedoes, to sometimes land some torpedoes on heavy ships. Some of them are more focused on the torpedo play, some of them are more focused on the gun play, some of them have smoke, some of them don't. But in general, it seems to work. So
The problem is, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Especially with the battle cruisers.
with the battle cruisers, but also with the destroyer leaders, because again, like the Paolo Emilio could just as easily be a light cruiser as she is a large destroyer, and so on and so forth. Same with the I don't know, with the German big gun destroyers and so on. Basically, think of the Trump as a kind of light cruiser without citadel. So a destroyer more focused on the gunplay. Oh, USS Atago just picked some people. And who? Lasso, Yoshiman, Cypric, Nab the Ripper, and Vilchus? Vilchus. Ah, thank you, Blood Minister.
Do we want to go over our handling?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so her maximum speed before any modifiers will be 33.5 knots. Her turning circle radius will be 720 meters, with a rudder shift time of 5.3 seconds, a surface detectability of 7.3 kilometers, air detection of 3.7 kilometers, and a smoke bloom detection of 3.2 kilometers. So she is firmly in the heavy gun destroyer category in terms of that.
Yes.
But she is on the slower side of destroyers, so you have to be a bit careful when you pick your fights.
Yes, but to mitigate that at least a bit, she will have obviously a regular damage control party as a consumable, but as the second consumable, she will have engine boost. The standard one, the 8% engine boost. So that's I mean, yeah, she will definitely need careful play, and you will always have to think about your exit plan, because yeah, with this speed, you won't be able to outrun easily even some
No.
cruisers.
I mean, there's quite a few battleships that will run it down.
Yes, true. Especially the battle cruisers. I mean, right now in the 2v2 brawls, I've tried to play destroyers a few times, but there is no sight as terrifying as having a German torpedo fast battleship bearing down on your little cloud of smoke. Especially the new battlecruiser line.
Yes, Heinrich and Weimar seem to have been the popular picks.
Yes, and I personally like Gneisenau for that.
That's fair.
Like the big guns, they have something going for them. Yeah, just for example, comparing to the German big gun destroyers, she seems to have a fairly decent concealment, but obviously weaker torpedo armament, and yeah, the guns about same-ish category. Slightly slower speed, shell speed, but not that not that much, because generally when this category of ship was designed, everybody and their dog tried to give them preferably guns with a decent muzzle velocity. Again, apart from Americans, but because they were supposed to fire at long range and they were supposed to hit very much maneuvering targets. Hog Hunt is asking, how will he get the super container?
Next.
Yes, the super containers will be delivered next week. They won't appear immediately. We just have to make the lists and so on. So yeah, you will get the super container early next week. And yeah, that gets us to the last big question, which is tied to Captain Minia's question, which is Blood Minister, get ready, please. Captain Minia's question is, what are Trump's counterparts of other nations? And this obviously is hinting at something that we did not mention yet. So there's another question. What will be the tier? Go. Ooh.
That's an interesting spread.
Yes? Okay, she will not be tier 1. She will not be tier 2. She will not be tier 5. Okay, let's cut down the spam. So Schizosam from EU, I guess, is the first one to mention the correct tier.
I think yes.
Yes, and it will be tier 10. So now we have the basically all information out there. So the Trump will be a tier 10 destroyer that is armed with
150mm guns.
how many?
6.
Yeah.
She's a ship of 6s. 6 guns,
Yes.
6 torps.
6 533mm torpedoes, some A guns, but they will not be definitely her big strength on that tier. With a special gimmick of
Having the airstrikes.
yes. And the airstrikes are, apart from the range, comparable with the tier 10 Dutch airstrikes. And she will have low speed but engine boost. She will have, for the big gun destroyer, fairly low detectability. And you will always have to think of your escape route, because she doesn't have she will not have a smoke, and so yeah, always think on some islands to block your line of sight. Will it be available for doubloons, coal, or steel? Well, that remains to be seen.
Yes, so we don't
Yes.
know what she's for yet.
Will she have sails? No, she will not have sails. Yeah, I see a lot of comments right now. A French with good stealth. I guess apart from the speediest.
I think I think she's more like she's closer probably to the German heavy destroyers.
Yeah, but again with better stealth.
Yes, like a more stealthy Elbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mini on a super container.
Yes, there seems to be a lot of torpedoes. The torpedo spec, we mentioned them already, but the damage 13,700, range 10 kilometers, speed 64 knots, reload time 70 seconds, and the turn time of the launchers 7.2 seconds, and torpedo detectability 1.3
Are those
kilometers.
Oland's torp stats? The tier 8. They sound like Oland's, or very close to Oland's.
More damage, I think. No. Well, let me have a look, because I have to admit I don't carry the ship stats in my head, because
There are far too many for that.
yeah, I know it's a shame for display, but Oland here, torpedoes. The Oland torpedoes have 10,700 damage, so and are faster. So
Okay.
those are slower, but with more kaboom. Will Trump get the ability to say it's trumping time before sinking another ship? I don't think so. Now someone is posting a cat on a Roomba. I don't know why. Oh. My wargaming name is Isumichiru now. I would like to change it here, but I can't. The problem is the context here, but does it get a 25mm plating or anything special? It has a 19mm plating.
But the ships were armored, but we don't know if she's getting the armor that she had.
Yes, she had a thin belt, basically kind of like, I guess Khabarovsk style, but
Yeah.
she had a 38mm belt. And what was kind of weird about the design, but might cause some trollish behavior if modeled, she had a pretty thick armored deck, actually. She had a thicker armored deck than she had a belt, which was not usual design choice.
No. Given that deck armor weighs a lot more than belt armor.
Yep. If Trump ramps a Bliska, will they fuse and become a tier 20 super ship? No, but nice comment. I don't know what you have with Bliskavica though. Can we get orange captain for the Trump that says you win every time you lose? She's Dutch. So no.
Painzor, the range on the airstrikes is 8 kilometers.
Yes,
So compared to Guden, which are 13.
exactly. So it will be kind of more like you will have to be more aggressive to use them, or they could use, or they could perhaps work better as a self-defense. We will see. We will see. How is her engine boost? It's the standard engine boost, the plus 8%.
Ah.
Will there be a Dutch special event for such release? No comment for now. Oh, and Bloodminister dropped in a picture, so we can check how she looks. I kind of like the looks of it. It's like, especially the gun turrets are kind of, or sorry, gun mounts are kind of austere and very functional.
I'm sure Sangloon in the chat will be studying it very closely to make sure it's absolutely right.
Yes, and he will probably throw some things our way.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
Sister ship Jakovan Hemskerk completed a specialist. Yes, exactly. That's what happens when you lend a ship to the British. It's like they will make weird things to it.
We didn't have the gun. Well, we didn't have any of the guns she was designed to take, and we only had the 4 inches
Yes.
like around.
It's basically the same thing that happened to Bliskavica in Britain as well. That's she
Yeah,
was rearmed because she was armed with Bofors 120mm
we
guns, so
couldn't
she was
make the shells.
rearmed with the 4-inch guns,
Yes.
basically in the same.
Yes.
Plus, it's like the AA. It was found by the time that the AA guns have a bit more use than anticipated, so it was like. How will she fare against contemporary tier DDs? We shall see. We hope that
Yes.
she will fare well enough.
Obviously, she's going into testing. All stats are subject to change.
Yes.
So what you see now might not be what you see when it finally is added.
Yes. How will the Trump be at ramming? About as well as any other tier 10 destroyer with 24,000 hit points? Yamato 980, since I guessed it was Trump, do I get super container? Well, unfortunately, the Trump thing was kind of revealed already yesterday with the flag. So, sorry.
Well done to the people who noticed that.
Yeah. What is her airstrike fire chance and damages?
39%.
Yes, 39% with 37mm penetration and maximum bomb damage 6,800 hit points, with 6 bombs per plane and 12 planes in attack. Didn't the British Navy have a nasty habit of borrowing the Dutch AA mounts? It wasn't really
We
air
didn't
quotes
steal
borrowing,
it.
it was license production.
Yes, and then we gave the Americans the plans, and they didn't have a license.
Yeah.
And Swedes got very angry at them for that.
Yeah, but then to be fair, Americans didn't use the Hasmir mounts.
No,
and-
they didn't.
The Dutch Navy had, for all the constraints, they had some pretty advanced tech for their time, especially in the AA sector. And if you ever go to the Dutch Navy Museum in the Den Helder, they have actually an AA gun simulator there where you can try shooting at the Japanese planes in the Java Sea with the Bofors gun. It's fun. It's fun if you have two people actually, because the controls are kind of too close to reality in that like it's hard to control them in one person. But yeah, they have a lot of such exhibits. So I can recommend, if you have your way to the Netherlands, go to that museum. It's just like 1 hour by train from Amsterdam. So oh my.
Oh, there we go.
The comments are just flowing in. Oh, that's Blood Minister. Okay, I will not comment on the
There you go.
length of the post because it's official post. So yay! Friesland was the first Dutch ship in World of Warships. Yes, exactly. And Groningen is literally Friesland. That's correct as well. How about a new special commander for the Dutch Navy? We had a special commander fairly recently, so in the future, I guess new commanders will be coming. But right now, we have other fish to fry that you will see soon. How does she float in the water? Deep draught or shallow? I think it's around a standard draught, but hard to tell from the picture actually.
Yeah, like, obviously the main comparison is going to be compared to Ragnar.
Yep.
Where even though Ragnar has fewer guns, they do shoot faster, and she is a faster ship, but she doesn't have torpedoes. So
Yes.
it'll be interesting to see how the two ships end up comparing against each other.
Yep. It will be interesting. Like basically Ragnar, Elbing, and her. We shall see how well how well he will work against them. When DD with depth charge airstrikes? Nobody knows, but maybe such things will happen. We shall see. Can Trump do stealth airstrikes? Yes, the airstrike range is 8 kilometers and the surface detectability is 7.3 kilometers. So you have a very tiny, weeny, limited window of opportunity for that.
Sarah, they're asking you to say the name correctly because apparently we
Which
can't
one?
Trump.
Yes, come here
We
and
can't do it.
yeah.
USS Pringle or Riot.
The name of the new Dutch ship is HNLMS Tromp.
Home. Hopefully. USS William D. Porter when we turn friendly damage again on.
That'd be one hell of a gimmick.
Also, her captain would be arrested after each battle. So, what do the gun arcs look like? Actually, we don't know that yet, but they should be fairly flat and fast.
Yeah, 900 meters a second. They should have
Yes.
fairly good AP pen as well.
Yep. General 52 plugs, maybe in the future. German cruiser Blücher. I need her. I guess whenever we find out how to make her different from Hipper.
No, she's the only hipper variant. Well, she's the only hipper not in the game technically.
Yes, technically yes.
Since yeah, because Vess is the conversion.
Trump has normal penetration angles. Yes. Shinano whenever. Oh, wow. The chat is going too fast.
Yes,
But guys, stop asking, please. When is ship X coming? Because, like, the moment we know that ship X is coming, we tell you. The moment we know exactly when she's coming, we might sometimes not tell you, but we tell you that she's getting closer. So, if you just throw out random ships that are not in game yet and not announced yet, we generally can't tell you because either we don't know or we know but cannot tell. Yeah. Oh. When is Black Friday? It's generally on Black Friday. Yes. So, it seems that the chat is quickly descending into madness. So I guess it's the best time to cut it short. We have announced a new ship. Just to recap again: Dutch destroyer tier 10, 6 guns, 6 torpedoes, airstrike, 43.5 knots, 7.3 kilometer surface detectability, and damage control party and engine boost. I think that's about it. She will be a big gun destroyer. She will be a big gun ship, and yeah, she should be fun.
should be interesting to try out.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to trying her out. So thank you for dropping by in such huge numbers, and especially for dropping in the chat and throwing in all sorts of questions, comments, and memes. And congratulations to the winners of the super containers, both from the guessing game, both from the bot, and both from interesting comments. Just a reminder, interesting comments is Kenneth Azura and Wargaming, please buff Missouri. Okay. And I would also like to thank Killer Bin for being here for this historical ship revelation.
Thank you for having me.
And I guess you will hear a lot more of Killer Bin over the weekend with the tournament streams. So yeah, I'm also happy that he has a opportunity to visit Prague again. So
It's a very nice city.
yes, if you are looking for a nice city for a trip, go to Prague. And yeah, that's it. Have a nice evening. And as a reminder, all these stats will be published. They were published in the chat by Blood Minister, and they will be published on our dev blog and forums and so on and so forth. So have a nice time and see you around. Bye bye.
Bye bye.